Hello.
Hey, how are you, Talon?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
Hey, Mom, can I have some pizza?
Hello, 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 hello.
How long will the pizza take to heat up?
I was getting a little worried there for a minute. It was 1 o'clock and nobody was here. I was like, whoa. Hello.
Emily is here. Harrison, Logan, Phelan, Alan Vance, Rachel. We see some faces. Mr. Rogers, how are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
Doing great.
Jack's wearing his uniform.
Hey, guys, let's
Thing for graduation.
Oh yeah,
I still haven't done that, and I'm on the graduation team, so she's gonna kill me, but it's okay.
Yeah, let me change.
let's if you're joining us, thank you for coming in. Go on to start your video, that way we can see your bright shiny face, or at least give yourself time to get appropriately attired, and then we'll see your bright shiny face, whatever the case may be.
I've not seen some of these faces for a while. It's good. I've seen my set of students from my classes,
Yeah.
which is to see. I'm not saying anything else, but looking at it from the school, it's pretty cool.
I'm hungry. Quiche.
One get the rest, Ash.
What?
Two. Get the rest.
Avery, Morgan, Vivian, let's just see your faces. That way we can have a face-to-face interaction as opposed to, I don't know, whatever else we could possibly have. All right, so I think we'll get started. Mr. Hubert, do you want to start? You want to, we talked about a little bit about asking a few questions first.
You're muted.
I think unmuted. There you go.
So I can share my screen from here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, guys, I just wanted to start. Let me see if I can share. It says that I can't share my screen.
Were you trying to share the PowerPoint that you sent, or the thing that you sent?
Yeah.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I might be the administrator on the meeting, so I might have to do it. Do you want me to go on and show it all?
It's all right. Well, it's all right. We don't need to do this part necessarily writing things down. I did put a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation for the 10 tips. I can send that to you if you want. If you want to start that in a few minutes. Okay. I just wanted to find out from you. I know some of you guys from my class or classes where you heading to high school, but as Mr. Rogers and I wanted to share you some tips about transitioning from middle school to high school. It may be good to know where you are heading and what you know about the school. Is it a really big school? Is it a very diverse school? Do you have some friends there already? Anything, any information that you have about the school? Do you know some of the teachers that you might have? Do you know the classes that you're going to take? Just to hear from each one, just a few words, not take too long, but maybe a minute or two about where you are heading. And I will take some notes on that. And so when we share some tips with you, we can make some reference maybe to what you stated, so it may be a bit more applicable to you in that. So if you don't mind, Emily, I see you first on my screen, and we can go around and then, or whatever order you want to go into. And just if you can say the high school and what you know about it, that would be great. Okay? So let's take a few minutes to do that, each one sharing that, and then we'll go from there.
All right, Emily, you're first. Nope, Emily's gone.
She just said that her Wi-Fi stopped working.
Oh. Talon, why don't you go first?
I'm going to Dunwoody.
Okay. What do you know about Dunwoody?
You get to pick what level of classes you get, and there's only 4 core classes. 2 core classes for each trimester.
Yeah,
But-
y'all are on block.
Total.
Okay. Logan, what about you, buddy?
I'm going to Dunwoody as well, and I know I have some friends going there. And I know that if you do a sport in freshman year, then in the next year you don't have to do PE.
Oh. Hey, that's nice. That's a good little trade-off. Jordan, how about yourself?
I'm going to North Springs. I know a few people who are going there. I know a few people who are already there. I mean, I don't know much because their tour wasn't very, it didn't show the whole school. So it showed parts of it. I know that there's like a freshman wing or something like that. They have like a part where for the freshmen, most of the classes are in one spot or one hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What size school is North Springs? Do you know?
No, I don't know for sure because I think they're changing.
Okay.
I don't remember the
Classification?
Yeah.
Okay. Rachel?
I'm going to Pace.
Okay. What do you know about it?
Like, I don't know. I know stuff, but that's like not really relevant. I don't know.
So what are their deviations for like classes? Like, are they, you got 6, you got 5, you got 4, you got 2.5?
We have 6 classes and then 2 free periods.
Oh, okay. Like free period as in like free period, or free period as in I have like art?
Free period as in free period.
Interesting. Cool. Ava, how about yourself?
I'm going to Riverwood.
Okay.
I know that there's like the schedule is like A-B block or something. So you have like 4 classes on A day and then 4 classes on B day.
Okay. Well, you'll actually probably be better apt than a lot of the students going there because you already have this rotating block schedule thingamabob going on. So, like I said, you might be better off than most. Harrison, what's up? I know where you're going, but tell everybody else.
I'm going to Norcross, and I don't really know a lot about Norcross because their tour was not very good. But what I do know is it's a huge school, like over 3,000 students.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very diverse. And also, if I know for math, if camp gets canceled, my summer camp gets canceled, then I'm gonna be taking a continuation of our geometry course this year during the summer.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Norcross is a very large school, very diverse mix. I don't live too far from there. And it is a mishmash of all different types of ethnicities, people, socioeconomic. It's a little bit of everything. All right, Jack T, what you got?
I'm going to Dunwoody, and I know that there's for math classes there's A, B, C, and D. A is for like different language students. B is for lower class, like lower students. C is for advanced students, and D is for like basically what would be AP next year.
Okay, cool.
So, but if you take C, you can also take AP the next year. So
All right.
that's what I think everyone here is doing, right? Who's going to Dunwoody?
All right, what about you, Aiden?
I am also going to Dunwoody.
4. We almost have a 4 for Dunwoody. Okay.
Yes, and then
We're the only
they have like a really good communications.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Didn't know that.
And Josh.
Avery. All right, Talon. It's not an open discussion time. Avery, what about you?
I'm going to Pace.
Okay.
And basically, I know what Rachel said, but about classes specifically, like math and science, I know that they say that honors science is a lot harder than regular science. I haven't really heard much about math, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. Vivian, how about yourself?
I'm going to Pace. So whatever they said.
Okay. Emily, what about yourself?
I'm going to North Springs, go Spartans. And I know for science, I'm taking honors biology, I think, and then math. I think I'm taking algebra 2 next year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jake, what about yourself?
I've heard, but it's not like, it's a pretty big school, but it's not like huge. They're
Sorry,
like,
but-
I think there are like 1,000 kids.
You were muted at the beginning. What school?
Pace.
Oh, ooh, quite a few of y'all going to Pace. All right. Ava, my screens get swapped around as people come through. Ava's already gone. Jordan's already gone. Morgan?
I'm going to Pace. Yeah.
Pace in the lead. Ava, how about yourself? Give you about a second or two. All right. Hey, there she is.
Hi. Oh,
Hey.
I'm going to Riverwood. I don't really know much about it, but yeah.
All right, cool. Nice little diverse. There's 4 or 5 different schools everybody's going to. It's spread out pretty evenly. Interesting. All right, cool. What I was going to do is put Rule 1 into the chat, and then Mr. is going to talk about Rule 1, our tip 1. Rule, suggestion, tip, whatever you want to call it.
I did send you the PowerPoint presentation if you want to use that.
Yes, you want me to just post it up, or you want me to just put each tip into the thing one at a time?
I mean, if you don't mind, let's put the PowerPoint and just put one of
Okay.
the, you can start it. I think that would be good, and then we can talk about it.
I'm on it.
All right. So, so not that one, right?
On this one? Hold on.
Not that one.
Maybe not.
I'll come back to it.
Okay.
So, all right, well, I'll start with the first one. Let me see if I'm not muted here. Technical. Okay. So the first one, guys, is as you go to a new environment, whether it's high school, college, or job, or wherever, first impressions are important. Every time you meet a new teacher, you'll be among a bunch of other people, and the first impression and how you come across is going to set the tone for the teacher. School where things move a little bit faster, And as people come to a certain classroom, the teacher will just quickly get to know people. And so what you want to do is to try to give the best first impression. So I would recommend in that light that you study a little bit of the map of the building, where your classes are going to be, so that on the first few days of school, you don't spend the first 10 minutes of class looking for the specific room because you got lost or because you thought it was somewhere else. So it's good to just be organized, to be on top of things, and to show that you can handle, even as a freshman, that you're ready to go. It's not like you got off the bus from summer school, from camp, and you are just dropped into the high school, and you're trying to figure out, as you come out of bed yawning, gee, what's going on in my life, and who are you, and who am I, and what is this? You just want to make sure that you're ready to go to give a good first impression. So there's a lot going on the first week. You probably will make some mistakes, probably will have some pleasant and unpleasant experiences with new people, new teachers, and all that. So just try to be as fresh as possible, try to be as rested as possible, that you can focus on observing everything that's going on, because you want to learn to just figure out what you need to do for each teacher. And so first impression, the first week is an important week. So I'm just saying with you guys, be prepared for success in that. So I think you can have the start there. Look at you. Here we go.
Getting it.
Look at that. First impressions are important. And I just finished that one. So I don't know if you guys want to put some questions into the chat part. That was kind of my comments, if some people want to respond. But I can tell, as a high school teacher, I can tell just after meeting some kids for the first few minutes who is going to do well and who might be struggling. Just the interaction, just how they found their seat. There's a part of there that you give a first impression. So be serious, go there to learn, to study, and be as prepared as you can in every aspect. Mr. Rogers, what do you think?
That sounds good. I mean, I agree 100%. You're already going to be a little nervous. You went from being a top dog and to literally being the bottom. So there's going to be a bit of nerves and there's going to be a bit of worry. So, because getting yourself accustomed to and used to the new routine is going to be important, which also will help cut down on that worry and that anxiety about how you're doing and if you're doing it right and all these hosts of other things. So, no, first impressions are important. And at Davis, we have this imaginary bell a lot of the time. Most of your schools, you will not have an imaginary bell. Be there, be on time. You don't have to be the first one in the classroom with your pencil and pen out, ready to go 20 seconds after you get there, but definitely be on time, definitely show up to where you're supposed to be, and, give that first good impression. Jack T, I saw, do you have a question?
When you say make a good first impression, what are you expecting for, if I walk into the classroom on the first day, what would you expect me to do?
For me personally, it would be walk in, find a seat. A lot of times, especially for ninth graders, you're probably going to have assigned seats. So just get over it. Sit down and get ready to go. There is plenty of time in high school to socialize. You have enough of that, and especially if you play sports, you'll have tons of it. So when you're in class and when you're ready to get, when you go, be ready to go.
I will comment from my 8th grade classes experience, and I noticed definitely a contrast in 8th grade between some students who would just casually walk from wherever it was, bathroom, hallway, chatting, whatever, come late to my classroom. Then they sit down and they realize, oh, they forgot something. Then they ask me if they can go back out, and then they come back, and then, oh, my pencil is not sharpened. And all that indicates this student is not really prepared. It's not really serious. So it's all those things, Jack, of just making sure that you're ready, you've thought things through, and that you indicate to the teacher, I am here to learn, and I will participate rather than distract in general.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, ready to move on, or does anybody else have a question? I can't see all of you at one time, so just, it's a small group. All right, so especially for science, pay attention to your labs. I tried to get y'all accustomed to this year. In asking questions that came directly from the lab. Labs should be, especially in high school, are supplementary and go along exactly with what we're doing or what you're teaching or what the teacher's going over. So, there's going to be plenty of times that I have in my teaching career as a high school teacher ask questions from the lab. They're not just an offshoot of something fun to do and break the monotony of school. They are something that is important, and most of y'all are going to a public school where if they're doing the lab, it's super important because there's not necessarily gobs of money to just do labs left and right, okay? So if they're doing a lab, it's important. It has a purpose. It's not just there to ooh and ah and then, move on and not pay it any mind or not take anything away from it. I tried to do that with a lot of our labs this year. Tried to ask questions later on down the road about what do we do in this? What do we do here? Blah, 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 blah. So just keep that in mind, that if you're doing the lab, make sure you're paying attention to it. There's more going on than just, hey, this is cool. So it's kind of a short, sweet, to the point one. Mr. Hubin, did you have anything on that one?
No, I've not done too many labs in math.
Okay. Well put, well put. All right. Here's the next one. Just me or you?
I think that's you, but I can comment on it. In math, and I think specifically school with math classes, they tend to go a little bit faster pace. You will review, because you've been really well prepared at Davis in math anyway. Mr. comment with science. You will review some of the stuff that's familiar to you, so that's good. But when a teacher assigns homework, that's really part of what he wants you to know. And so it's not just with the mentality of, I've done my homework, check, moving on, what else do I need to do? It is really part of the learning process. So there's the things that he wants you to, or she wants you to practice and be familiar with. And so it's more than just checking it off a list. It's really trying to absorb it beyond I've done my homework. What was the main point here? What was the teacher trying to get me to focus on? And just to have that self-reflection that is key in high school to be successful. Not just being led like in elementary school where people take you by the hand to move from one thing to the next. Well, here, at the mental level, in a sense, it's not a teacher necessarily bringing you by the hand or dragging you around or leading you that way. You have to self-assess. You have to try to figure things out a little bit more in figuring out what it takes to be successful. And so the big point here, homework is a huge thing, because when whatever is done in class, then it's a preparation for the practice that the teacher is giving via homework. So yeah, enough said on that. But that's very important for you to notice and to self-reflect.
Yeah. Just to kind of echo what Mr. Hubin said. The thing about homework, and for my 8th graders, I've told y'all this. I hate grading homework. I hate all the stuff. So if I'm giving it to you, it's important enough to do and pay attention to. Even when you go to your high schools, your classes aren't going to be as small. All right. So if your teacher's giving you homework, most likely it is something that's going to be a supplemental and used to be, like he just said, a self-assessment. It's like, I'm doing this homework and I don't have any clue about questions 2, 3, and 4. Like I'm missing it in my notes. I'm missing it in my brain. I don't know it. So what that gives you is a guide to see what you need help with. Then you need to go talk to teacher. Hey, teach. I'm not understanding number 3, 4, and 5, or whatever the case may be. So homework is a grade, and yeah, you need to do the grade. That way you don't get a 0 on it, of course. But put a little bit more time and effort into some of it than just as look at it as I just need to get this done to get it done. What's up, Jack? T.
Homework wise at Dunwoody is supposed to be very stressful. Like, because they fit the entire year into half a semester. So with like science and math homework, how do you like think that we should handle that?
Well, how about this, Jack, and anybody that wants to stay after for a little bit that goes to Dunwoody. I can talk a little bit more on block scheduling. I was actually, as a student, I did 2 years of block scheduling. And then as a teacher, I've done 5 years of block schedule. So I'll talk a little bit more about that since it only pertains to about 4 or 5 of you.
Okay.
Cool. All right, next.
I have a question.
Oh, what's up?
From your experience and Mr. Hubin's, in high school, is homework graded based on completion or accuracy?
For my personal experience, I grade it on completion, but I'm looking for where there's missing knowledge. So, for example, in the string stuff that we did with the waves, there's that one question that more or less almost everybody got wrong. I see that as, okay, I need to go back and review this. We missed this concept. Something's not right. So it is usually, for me at least, graded on completion. But what I use it as a tool for what we're going to do in class. So if everybody missed number 5, well, I need to go back and talk about number 5 because obviously either I screwed up or they screwed up, but they don't get it. So what do we got to do to get that problem solved?
Yeah, and is that the same thing for math too?
I couldn't hear you very well. Yes, I mean, I suppose it depends on the teacher, depends on the school. So I can't really comment on what you can experience, but I can share from my experience that as a teacher, I don't want to focus so much on the homework, on every question, grading all of that, especially in high school, because it's more of a self-assessment for you so that you can come back to me and you can seek some help. And so usually it's the grade is not really emphasized. Even the weight of the homework category is lower usually in high school, where the test is increasing in weight. And so the homework is usually not something to be stressed about if you missed a problem. For me, it was an opportunity to see who can keep up with the work through the homework, who is late turning the homework in, who is doing half of the homework. So that's very easy to discern, and that's something that I need to be aware of as I work with students. But it's more of an issue for you as a student when you have some questions to be able to either ask a peer, and I'll make the point now, maybe later again, but it is very important in each class that you have, as soon as you can, to have a buddy. You can text and say, hey, what was that about for this topic? Or did you get this, so that you don't wait until the next day, next time you have the class to have your question. You try to have a way of finding the answers for the homework so that you the next class. And so to answer your question, I don't think there's a lot of pressure for reading on accuracy for homework. That's unusual. But teachers just look at the homework seriously because it communicates certain things about where you are and what kind of student you are.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All the homework. All right. I wrote this one. So study your notes. That's where the test will come from. So if you're in my class, you're used to this. All of y'all are. I went to college, got fancy degrees, not to teach out of a book. And so when I do the notes and when I spend time making these PowerPoints and doing all these different ways of doing notes, I put all that time and energy into it. That's where my tests are going to come from, and you saw that this year. We use the book very little for physical science. It was more coming from the notes and coming from what we did in the classroom. The book is really used for me as a supplemental. And I think for a lot of my peers that have taught high school, it is a supplemental because sometimes the book doesn't talk about the things in which we want it to do and things like that. So a lot of us are going off the knowledge that we learned in college to, build the curriculum. So, make sure you're studying from your notes. Take good notes. Most of y'all that are here right now took good notes. I don't feel bad saying not everybody took good notes. Okay. If you're putting it up there, take it down. It might come up, whenever I build my test, I make about 80% of it where I know most everybody's going to get this question. And then there's about, up to the 90 where there's some harder questions. And then the 90 to 100 range is the really hard questions. And those are the things, that, and that's how a lot of my peers have built their tests too. We give them a good base knowledge, make sure you got the basis down, and then go from there and build on top of that. So like I said, in science and a lot of your other classes, I will say, that teacher works hard on what they're going to present, how they're going to present it. So those notes are going to be important when it comes, test taking time. Mr. Hubin?
Yeah, I definitely agree with it. There is really a progression as a student from going to class where you're taking notes, paying attention in class, participating. That's a very important step. The teacher, again, will emphasize what he wants or what she wants from a textbook, from the experience, whatever it may be, so that you're prepared for tests. And so taking the good notes is absolutely necessary. I've many times shared with you guys, with my students, about the need sometimes to do a summary. Some of you are still questioning, but really of just what is really most important here today? What was the main idea? What did we learn? And if you accumulate that through the days, the weeks, and the months, then it's much easier to remember what was important for a trimester or for a test. And so you build up from the notes to the homework. You can't do your homework well if you didn't pay attention and took some good notes in class. If you don't do your homework well, the next class will be challenged. So it's really building up something where every step is important, and notes and homework are key in that. So I will emphasize again the need. I'm being challenged by.
I got it, Mr. Hubin.
Thank you. So if you don't take good notes, you know that about yourself. Try to find somebody who does in the class, and just especially if you felt like this was important, I missed the notes, or maybe you were not there. Just find a way to quickly get a copy of somebody who takes some good notes, and it's easy to tell who takes good notes, right? You can spot the students; they usually sit at the front. And just try to befriend people and saying, hey, when I'm in trouble sometimes and I need something, can I just get that from you? Just to try to help yourself by having the right around you. And you can do the same thing, to help somebody else. It's not just about you getting stuff from others. It's also helping others that may need the help. But notes and homework are key in the learning process. I definitely second that.
Any questions, guys and gals? Oh, Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not Jack. Jake. My bad. Do you still have your hand up, or is that from earlier?
Oh, I accidentally left it raised. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Hey, I want to share something else when we talk about notes and homework and all that. I shared this one time at the school. I don't know if everybody if you heard it, but I was a pretty good student in middle school and high school, good in math, not necessarily that good in science. Didn't have Mr. Rogers as a teacher, but I failed my senior year in math. And the reason was that suddenly I grew dumber, or I became stupid overnight, or for the following year. It's just that I didn't put into my process of learning. I didn't realize when I was in school that there are certain things you can do to really help yourself. It's not just about whether you're smart or not, or whether you get this topic or not, or you like the subject or not. It's just there is a way to improve what you do in order to be successful. And I didn't learn that. Even though I'm a math teacher, I love math, and I was really good in math. It was a very advanced math class. I tripped and I failed. And over there in Europe, when you fail one subject, you fail the entire year. So I had to repeat every single subject with the next class. And anyway, that was not fun at all. But I want to emphasize that it's not just high school and college. It's not really a question whether you're smart or not, even though that's important. That's granted. But it's really, do you put together all the skills that are necessary and improve on those to make sure that you learn the best way for you? There's a part of knowing how you do things. Hopefully middle school has helped you a little bit with that, but high school even more so. You will grow more independent. What does it take for me to be able to perform very, very well and to learn very well? And you have to keep tweaking that process. So I said here, if you don't take good notes, you better figure out a different way. Record the lectures and then type them later. Get that from somebody else. But every part, you cannot ignore some like I did in high school. Nobody really talked to me about it. And I thought that I just showed up, I just paid attention and tried to do my best and everything would be fine. It didn't work that way. So I just want to encourage you that while it's very possible to excel and do great in high school for every one of you, it's just making sure that you look at every part and not just saying, oh, I don't need to do that, I'll be fine. I just want to encourage you to improve on every aspect.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see what's next. Ask questions. So this, most of us here do a pretty good job of this. But if you don't understand something in a class of, let's call it 27 people, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, raising your hand, you still got to get that question answered. Talk to your teacher, ask questions. If you don't understand something, get the help you need, because let's say I have 27 kids, I have 5 to 6 classes. That's, Mr. Hubin can do the math on that. That's a lot of students. That's a lot of individuals I got to teach and make sure are doing what they need to do. So you are your biggest, what's the word I want to use? Advocate Because your parents can't send an email every day asking, did little Johnny do this, or what did Johnny miss, or blah, 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 blah. Okay. You need to ask questions if you don't understand something, because most science, biology, you're kind of lucky as a freshman. You can take little compartments of it and, you know, kind of, it can be by itself. But when you get to physics and chemistry, if you don't understand the first topic, well, guess what? That second topic is going to build on the first topic. And the third topic is going to be built on the second and the first. So make sure you're asking questions, make sure you're getting the help that you need. If you need help, every single teacher I know, if a student shows an interest in learning and wants to learn and ask the questions, they will stay till the sun goes down to help that student. But if you don't ever ask questions and we don't ever know you need help, then we just assume everything's okay. So let us know if something's not okay. That way we can, you know, help you in that time, as opposed to letting it compound and get worse and worse until the whole semester is just you know, you feel overwhelmed and you feel like you can't do it. So that's all I got for that.
It's good. I want to say too that don't hide behind a personality trait like I'm shy or I'm not as outgoing as others. It's the time of really learning to step up here and just, you don't have to do it publicly, you know, in front of the whole classroom with a microphone, but you got to learn to be able to go to the teacher and address the teacher and ask education for whatever. So even practice that with teachers if this is difficult for you. But this is vital that you communicate and that you ask questions. I would say one thing as well. In high school, like it is in middle school, but high school, it's a bit, the teachers are more aware that they have to cover a certain curriculum, that going to be standardized testing, there's going to be preparation for college. The bar is a bit higher, and therefore the goals are a bit more set in stone. And so sometimes when I had a student who would just ask a question, that's great, 2 questions during the class. Okay, after that, they will say, come in after class, I need to move on. I do that a little bit in Davis, but I think it's much more so in high school. So what Mr. Rogers was saying, teachers stay there with you. That doesn't mean in the classroom while everybody else in the classroom is waiting for you guys to be done. It maybe come back around later so that you can have your questions answered. He may have or she may have to continue with the lecture and move on and finish before answering all your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hubin. So we got next.
I'll take this one.
Okay.
So
Jack.
this is.
Sorry, Jack had his hand up. My fault. What's up, Jack?
In high school, do you think that there will be time to come in early before classes?
Oh yeah, definitely, and stay after both. Yeah. All right, Mr. Hubin.
Like this is a bit maybe redundant with what we've been stating overall, but I think because there's a change of pace in the way you work, and depending on the classes you take, I mean, some of you may even, you know, go to AP classes and just accelerated classes, and so the pace and the amount of information delivered to you is gonna maybe a little bit of a change, and so the keeping up with your work, not just in the task list, I've done my homework, as I said earlier, but in making sure that you learn the information and that you're ready for the next part. Just think of going to high school every day with a small bucket, and you're going to fill in, you know, the information from every class in that bucket. You have to do something with that. You cannot keep piling things up in that bucket. It will overflow. You'll get overwhelmed. You'll get stressed. You're going to start missing things because it's going to spill. So as you fill in the bucket during the day, you have to take the time to empty it at night as you do your homework, to just be able to absorb it so that it's empty for the to start over. So keeping up with your work is vital in high school as it is in college. For every class, you need to make
Coach, I
sure
want you to come here.
that you can empty that bucket at the end of the day. That's
Hold on. Oh, so yeah, there's not a whole, like I said, I think Mr. Hubin had it right. There's not a whole lot I can add to this one. By keeping up with that workload, I recommend getting a planner. I told you all that at the beginning of the year. Keeping up, making sure you got all your, as I like to say, your T's dotted and your I's crossed. Make sure you got all that taken care of on a daily basis. And I like what Mr. Hubin said about, emptying it out at night. Make sure you have everything done, and then you can go to bed and rest easy at night, as opposed to being worried about what you may or may not have done, or got done, didn't do, whatever the case may be.
I think I can put it back on her. Thank you.
All right.
I think this may be one of the most important tips. It's not practical tips like the previous ones that we've talked about, although having friends, having buddies in every class is important, so you can check with them. But there's a quote I will share with you that's very important. In high school, it's a new environment. There's a place for you just feeling a little bit insecure because it's and so there's the cool factor, you wanting to be cool, wanting to belong to whatever group that you think is cool. And so there's a quote here that is worth remembering. It is, "Show me your friends and I will show you your future. Show me your friends and I will show you your future." And so just take a minute and reflect as wherever you are drawn to, wherever you are, because of your past.
Yeah, we can after wrestling. Okay.
Mr. Rogers, do you mind muting yourself?
Oh yeah, sorry. Hold on. My kids are going crazy right now.
That's all right. Speaking of that, I was saying, just make sure that you make the right friends. Now, I was sharing the quote that I think is important is, "Show me your friends and I will show you your future." And in high school, I think that can be, you get more of a variety and more of a spectrum of quality of people. I mean, everybody has quality and intrinsically, I'm not saying that, but there's some that may have a more negative influence than others. Make sure that you pick the right friends. Those are going somewhere, those are driven, motivated, and that have somewhat of a positive outlook with school and getting things done. That would be very important.
Sorry, guys. I didn't have. Okay. So I will say this, and I've seen this from personal experience. I've seen kids that come in just naive to the world and just totally oblivious to so many things. And they get mixed in with the wrong group of people, and it has gone very poorly for them. I think, that quote that Mr. Hubin shared is a perfect representation, or an accurate representation of what your friends say about you. You've been lucky to have, good quality people around you for however long you've been at Davis. But you're about to go to different schools and you're about to have a bunch of different types of people around you. There's no question that putting good, positive people in your life who got it, who either have, the subject matter down, maybe even have how they're doing their work down, things like that. All those things are important because the people around you help make you who you are. You at this point in your life are still very pliable. And me and Mr. Hubin, we are who we are. We're old crotchety men, and that's just what it is. But y'all are still very young and still very plastic in a manner of speaking and can still be molded. So you want to make sure that the people you put around you are good for molding. And yeah, I couldn't agree more with this than that quote. You know, that's exactly right. All right. All right. This was mine. And it said a little tongue in cheek, but it is true. Now, some of y'all are brilliant. There's no question about it. Your IQ might be higher than your teachers, but you don't know more about the subject area than your teachers. I'll give an analogy that I think everybody will, it'll make sense, you know, in this current situation that we're at. So you have doctors that have spent their entire life studying infectious disease. Then you have people who watched 2 YouTube videos and are now experts on the coronavirus, right? You watching one YouTube video does not make you an expert on photosynthesis. It does not make you an expert on particle theory physics. It doesn't make you an expert on anything. Every one of these people, every one of your teachers went to school, especially for high school. They went to school, they got a degree in what they're teaching. Like Mr. Hubin has a degree in math. I have a degree in biology and chemistry. And most of us have a secondary or a minor of education. So I took countless hours in countless labs. So I know the subject matter very well. That doesn't mean that like you can't bring a new topic in, or you might have found something cool that you want to talk to the teacher about, but the teacher knows more about this topic than you do. Doesn't mean they're the best at grammar. That doesn't mean they're the best at everything. But your biology teacher knows more about biology than you do. Your math teacher knows more about math than you do. Your social studies teacher knows more social studies than you do. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you go through this and as you, work with all these different personalities. Teachers are humans too. So if you think you get all very uppity in class, that talk about that first impression, that's not the impression you want to make on your first few days.
And it's also a question of that, right? The way you ask your question. I've addressed that in some of my classes where it's not the words that you use necessarily, it's the attitude, it's the tone. So try to be respectful as much as you can. However wrong the teacher may be, from your perspective, whatever may be going on in class, just try to respect the person as a teacher, especially in front of his class, and you will go much better with you. It's a skill to learn to disagree, to have conflict without just creating more of a problem. So this is a great skill to practice in high school. So you respect the position of the person as a teacher, your principal, whoever it may be. It doesn't matter if they do certain things that are wrong, if they make some mistakes. You just have to learn to respect that authority in your life, and you'll be much, much better, I guarantee it.
All right, next one.
Yeah, so this part of a better learner, it's the big transition from middle school to high school. We talked about just getting things off list. Here, just getting good grades. I understand that, grades will remain important, grades on test, and you will have transcripts. That's just numbers, grades that will go to colleges. But there is something even more important than that. And I think that if you can get the part that as a student, if you become a better learner yourself, then your grades will become better. But if you just focus on the grades, I think you open the door for anxiety, for finding any way that can work and that can get you in trouble. And it just, the grades by itself, even though it's a good goal, there's to be something before that. And, hopefully, you know, in the type of world that we live in, more and more, you guys will have to continue learning. You're not just going to go to high school or college and then we'll be done. It's more and more of an ongoing learning experience. So you got to learn to enjoy the process too. And the grades, or, you know, the due dates from the boss, or whatever it may be, is part of the process that you have to learn to cope with. But just learn to enjoy the process and focus on you becoming a better learner, having a better learning process, something that you can enjoy more. An anecdote of that was, I remember a student who was in 11th grade, that was about 30 years ago. But I remember he said one time, hey, I just discovered that I don't have to be at a table, at a desk, to study math and just, you know, with my pencils and my notepad and all that. He started sitting on his couch, kind of laying around with us, and started reading and all of that and doing math. And he was an excellent student. He said, I enjoyed that much more. Now, I couldn't do that. I would be distracted. I'd fall asleep. I would just, you know, this is not my thing. I need to be sitting at a desk. But the part of becoming a better learner is to know what works for you, and that you can enjoy more of the process, and you will do better naturally that way, rather than just grinding your teeth just to get the good grades through the different levels of education you will go through.
Perfect. This for me, I like this one. This for me is also learning what style works best for you. How you learn and how you need to study, learn whatever's best for you. I recommend you learn this now as opposed to college like I did. I did not learn this in high school, unfortunately. I learned this my freshman year of high school. After I failed my very first biology test, nonetheless, would go on to be my major. It was hilarious in a very sad way. But I had to figure out what I needed to do to learn the material, as opposed to, like we said, just not get good grades. I told y'all at the beginning of the year, if you worry about the small stuff, the big stuff, aka the grade, will take care of itself. So learning what you need, if it's a quiet place in your house, if it is like for me, mine was, I worked an 11-hour shift in the gym. So I would bring all my books down on Sunday. I'd work from 11 to 11, and I would literally spend all 11 hours studying, and that works for me. If that's what works for you, I hope that's not what works for you, but, you know, figure out what works for you. Figure out what helps you learn the material and absorb it and take it in. So, all right. We're rapidly approaching 2, so let's keep on moving on. Oh, last one, I think, right?
The last one, setting high expectations for yourself. This is, you know, high school, college. This is the time where you can shine. You are not a kid anymore. High school, it just, the stakes are higher, that's true, but it is really the opportunities and the privilege you have to really pursue something and go after something. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, whatever it is that you want to be, you want to start your own business, this is the time really to go for it, to flourish and to bloom and grow and to go after something. Because, you know, in this world, it will take more than you be doing what you're told. You will need to just, you know, discover what you really like and go after it. So high expectations for yourself to become a better learner, you know, not to slack in any area, and just in your communication skills. So you get a lot of things to look at, and I don't want to make that overwhelming with a bunch of lists of all the things that you need to pay attention to, but it's just really to improve who you are and in preparation for the real world out there. I will balance that out with, when we say high expectations, you know, great goals and all that. At the same time, you have to find your balance in life. High school is going to be one of the big challenges, of course, is going to be time management. And so it's good to talk about all those things. You need to do this, you need to do that. But it's easy to get overwhelmed, stressed out, and just, kind of being deflated. And so managing your time, managing your expectations, sometimes it's okay to mess up. You made a mistake, you didn't realize something, and things will happen, and just pick yourself back. You had some of those experiences in middle school, but it may happen again in high school where that didn't go well. I partnered with some people and they were nervous, and we failed the project, or we just got a C, or whatever it may be. And just to be able to go from that and say, okay, let me have the big picture in mind. It's okay, I'll be able to roll with it and learn from it and keep going. And so that you don't stress yourself out so much trying to be perfect in every area. You can't do that either. So find the ways where you can relax. Find ways where, does it work in your schedule for the week? Is there some time for yourself where you can just, chat with a friend, not talk about school? If you can just go and exercise, go for a walk, whatever you do, again, that's personal, where you can refill your tank in a sense of just, for me, I know going for a walk is very important, going on a bike ride without getting hit by a car, but just all the things that just, that feels really good to me. And I do that for 30 minutes and I can come back, I feel refreshed. Okay, let me move on to the next thing. Rather than keep on going and just, I have to finish and I'm sweating and it's horrible and I hate it. And just to try to find the right balance between high expectations, aware of the things that I still as a hobby, or the things that I enjoy doing, and putting all that package together. High school is key in learning to find that right packet, that right combination, that right balance, and you're not going to get it right away. So it's okay. Give yourself some flexibility in a sense, some slack, that you'll be something that you will have to adjust. You may get overwhelmed at time. You may not do the right things at time and realize it later, but you can adjust on that. It's a work in progress, and you guys are going to do great.
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate what Mr. Hubin said, it's setting high expectations, but also not killing yourself. It's setting high expectations, but not setting unreasonable or unrealistic expectations. You want to shoot for that grade or that whatever, sports, life, whatever the case may be, but also make sure you don't set yourself up for utter failure. You know what I mean? That's not a good way to do things. One of my favorite quotes, and you think since it's my favorite, I would not flub it up, but I usually do. If you aim for the moon and fail, you land among the stars. So that's just saying that even set your high expectations, and even if you fail or don't quite get there, you probably still did pretty good. So I think with that, we're a little over time, but I appreciate everybody being here. It means a lot. It's probably, hopefully most of y'all come back, but for some of y'all, this might be the last time I see your face. So even though it's your digital face, it's still good to see y'all. Everybody have a very nice Ava.
No, I love that Eiffel Tower.
Yes, very nice. So I appreciate it. If you want to stay behind and talk a little bit more about block scheduling, I'll be willing to do that for about 10 minutes or so, just because I got my kids, so I need to go make sure they haven't burnt the house down yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, guys.
Yes, only welcome.
Thank you.
Wait, Jordan.
Rogers, Mr. Hubin.
Emily.
I'm going to stay because I don't know if North Springs is a block schedule, so yeah.
Look, that's fine. You're more than welcome to.
Mr. Rogers, I need to go. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Hubin.
All right.
Thank you, buddy. This was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, well done.
Harrison, you on? Or are you just blank-faced?
It's not. I just found out from Jordan, so I can leave now. Bye. Thank you for a great year.
No worries. So here's the thing about block scheduling, guys. a lot of times well, I can speak from science. I don't know what they do in other, but we're going to try to give you a bunch of different things every day. Like in one day, you might have 20 minutes of notes. You might do 15 minutes of classwork, and then we might try to finish up with a lab. So, because the class period is roughly an hour and a half, we got to fit a lot of different things. Like nobody, myself and your teacher included, can pay attention to anything for an hour and a half other than watching a movie. Okay. So we're really going to try to mix it up. We're going to try to add a couple more things in, try to do a couple more things. Just, you're not going to take an hour and a half of notes. If you do, I'm sorry, but I've never done that because even an hour and a half of notes makes me cringe. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of, we're doing a little bit of this. We're doing a little bit of that. We're doing a little bit of that. All right. Bring your homework back. Like, we're going to finish this lab up tomorrow, things of that nature. So it's really just about getting accustomed to that classroom in an hour and a half setting because, like I said, an hour and a half is a lot. So most of your teachers are going to try to break it up in maybe 30-minute segments and try to give, you a little time between each thing. That way you're not bored out of your mind. So do y'all have some general questions you want to ask about the block scheduling?
Yeah. Jack can go first.
Do you know how Dunwoody works? 'Cause you haven't worked there before, but
The last school I worked in, it was DeKalb County Schools, so I have a pretty good idea how they work.
because I was just gonna ask, I've heard that there's a lot of homework. So
I mean, that's up to the teacher. A lot of public schools have gone to where homework, it's important, or it's a large portion of your grade now because students were doing so bad on tests, not just standardized tests, but regular tests, that they stopped making the test worth so much. Now you will have an end of course test in 9th grade. 80 questions, 2 days, or most times they'll do it in 2 days. There's some stuff I can, if you look me up towards the end of your semester, I can give you some stuff to review with, but I mean, it just depends on the teacher, how much homework you got. You know what I mean? What's up, Talon?
Where do the teachers get their information to put on the test from?
It just depends. I mean, it depends on how, sometimes they'll have to give it, the state will give them stuff. Sometimes they'll get to make up their own test. It just kind of depends on what the unit is. If y'all have to do benchmarks, if you have to do certain other things, it just kind of depends. But like I said, most of the tests are going to come from the teacher's notes and what they do in class.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Do you recommend a kind of note taking?
Oh, I want to ask him a quick question.
My mom has a question.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
So the chances of DeKalb County going back to regular school next year, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
If it does, I think they might be out again. And because supposedly it's a block schedule and they're learning so much in a short period of time, I was thinking that would be good for Talon because there'd only be 4 classes, PE being one of them. It actually could work out well. But if it's distance learning, you see, there's definitely some struggle and issues.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine
Relearn a little bit or get material. I went onto Dunwoody's website, but where are you guys as teachers when you worked at DeKalb? Are you given, I hear about milestones. Is there published information just so I know what's coming up?
So usually with the example of milestones, that test is going to come from the county. We're going to get that maybe a week beforehand.
Not the actual test, but you'll know, I'm assuming, some guideline to know what to even teach them. So
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, they send out their curriculum. It's this massive document.
Right. Like, so
Is
is there a way
Georgia-
for parents to get this massive document of curriculum so we know?
I would look at DeKalb County Schools curriculum guide
Okay.
and a Georgia curriculum guide. So it goes Georgia curriculum. This is what they have to teach. Now, each county is fairly egotistical and they think they know exactly what should be taught.
Right.
And so they'll have theirs, which it has to fit into the Georgia.
At minimum.
Yeah, but then they'll have theirs. So look up DeKalb County curriculum guide, like biology, or maybe
Okay.
even DeKalb County curriculum guide, science, high school science.
Did you teach biology in DeKalb County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if they do reach back out to you, you'll have some, because they'll have to take biology freshman year.
Mhm.
Like you'll have some idea if
Oh, yeah.
it's just to give me as the parent pointers if I needed it or something.
Yeah, no, I taught high school biology for a lot of years. And the last 3 were in DeKalb County.
Oh, okay.
So,
Like one of our patients I know is a DeKalb County English teacher, and she said all the curriculum's the same. So if we do go back to this distance learning, I know I
Yeah.
have her as a little resource, you know?
yeah. No, that's fine. If you need me,
I feel
you know where to find me.
Yeah, I feel like if they were in school, he'd be fine just being an auditory learner. Like as long as he pays attention, he's good. But
Yeah.
they have to do it all independently at home.
Yeah, no, I don't. I would think I would find it very difficult to teach an hour and a half class. I don't even know. I mean, I can reach back out to some of my peers that still teach at Columbia and kind of figure out what they've been doing.
Mhm.
But I mean, you know, I don't know how you would possibly teach a class, like an hour and a half class, like I said,
Straight
virtually like this, like,
and virtually, right?
yeah. So, I mean,
Only 15 more minutes after this would be an hour and a half.
well, this was just a chit chat. This wasn't like a, hey, you're going to need to retain every single bit of this information.
Yeah. Did you find the block schedule as a teacher was difficult to get them to retain it all, or not really, because it was only 1 or 2 classes they were doing it for?
I'll put it this way. For me, especially the last year I was there, my biology class, because I taught chemistry and environmental science.
Mhm.
So my biology class was 100% repeaters. And usually there were students that had learning difficulties. So that last year was not a good example of what it is. I mean, the teachers know what they need to teach, what's essentially going to be on the end of course test, and they're going to make sure, and they're going to try their hardest to get all that covered. You know, and usually the difficulty is that we have to get it covered in, you know, usually about 3 weeks less than the semester, because we have to review it.
Right.
And then that last week or so of the semester is usually end of course testing, which the schedule just take the regular schedule, throw it out the window, and then they do something else.
Got it. But you've seen the curriculum.
Mhm.
So as an adult, do you feel like the scope of it is very in depth? Is it very manageable if a kid just...
It's manageable. It's not very in depth. I don't
Okay.
think you can teach a course like biology or you know, something like that in the depth that most teachers want to go to, because you're just pressed for time. You got to get through X amount of material by X date.
Got it.
So
Okay.
manageable,
So
yes.
These are manageable.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
And I
good
think
to know.
having only 4 classes really makes it, honestly,
Right, that's
makes it very manageable, as opposed to, you know, having like math. They'll usually split math and science into 2 semesters,
Right.
and English and social studies into 2 semesters. So you have like math and English, or math,
Right.
math
Kind of
and
like
English and
bigger.
science and social studies.
Right. Like to just have science and social studies, like just have 2 cores
hmm
makes me think high school should be a breeze.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it depends on the workload. It depends on all that, but it's much easier to manage all the stuff.
Right. Okay. Good to know. If you guys have any questions, I know where to reach you.
Yes, ma'am. You know where I'm at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Look at her dog.
I'm almost done, Jackie.
What,
Okay.
Jack, what'd you say?
Call me after so Mr. Rogers can talk to his kid.
All right. Bye, guys. I'm going to let you go.